Paul Heyman has shocked the world by combining the forces of Seth Rollins and Bron Breakker, and the statement on Raw is clear. They are both the present and the future. But according to Paul Heyman, this is only the beginning. You think that was surprising? You wait and see just what and who we have in store. Because this isn't evolution. It's a revolution. We aren't going to rewrite history. We are going to rebuild it. And we are going to reclaim it. Body by body, man by man. Heyman suggesting there's a fourth man, as if it couldn't get any stronger. Well, their strength is fully on show when the brute force of the group, Bron Breakker, shows that he could well have gone to another level already when he blasts through Dragon Lee under the watchful eye of Heyman. But quickly after the match concludes, there's a huge disturbance backstage because it's Punk and Rollins who are feverishly throwing hands. Punk isn't just going to sit back and accept that his first ever WrestleMania main event was ruined by his biggest enemy and his supposed best friend. But it's the former best friend that is in no man's land because Punk breaks free, chokes out Rollins, leaves him laying, and now he's stalking Heyman on the stage. Heyman has nowhere to go and he's terrified. The latest Heyman guy wipes out one of the first. And this alliance is already paying dividends for Paul. But the investment isn't stopping there, as we know. And a phone call is overheard between Paul and a fourth man. But we can't quite hear who it is. And it gets cut short because Heyman notices the camera filming him from outside the office and forces them to leave. It's being kept under wraps. But what isn't being kept under wraps is the intention of CM Punk and another jilted ex-friend of Heyman. And he blows the show apart purely to try and get at both Rollins and Breakker. It's on again. Roman is back on the eve of Backlash, and he and Punk storm the ring. The odds are even, and the star power is off the charts. But what will also be off the charts is the tag team match that is made official for St. Louis, when the former Paul Heyman guys go to war with the current ones, and it's personal. You can really feel the hurt from Punk and Roman in the way that they put the hurt on Rollins and Breakker. It's such an unbelievable sight, even just seeing Roman and Punk working together, because the enemy of my enemy is my friend. But it's those enemies who are on a totally different level right now, thanks to Heyman, and they take control in a big way. It's clear that the future is now. Rollins manages to muscle Punk to the outside. He wants a stomp, but Punk simply won't allow it. And they're scrapping and fighting for their lives. But so is Bron now in the ring, who is the legal man along with Roman, who is stalking him to end it. But then Heyman scrambles into the ring to try and stop him. And now Roman is looking like he might strike Heyman once more. But he doesn't. All he does is throw Heyman in front of the oncoming spear from Breakker. And he can't believe what he's done. Roman laces Breakker with a Superman punch and follows it up with his own version of a spear, and he picks up the win. It's a massive dent to the armor right off the bat, and a sign directly to Paul Heyman that this won't be a walk in the park. Roman looks down at Breakker and says, "If you think Heyman is the silver bullet, you've got a hell of a lot to learn, kid." Rollins cracks him with a chair, and this is where the tide turns, because Punk tries to get at Rollins, but he gets met with the same chair, and now Breakker has recovered. He has some steel as well. And Heyman, albeit in pain, is demanding that they crush them both, and that is what they do. It's even more violent and vicious as the first one, and Heyman is screaming at them, directing traffic, making them continue, and they completely destroy two of the WWE's biggest stars of all time. Again. And it leaves both men on the shelf, injured indefinitely. And Paul Heyman's men, who are pissed off about the loss and looking to redeem themselves immediately, sees Bron Breakker thrust into a Money in the Bank qualification match, which he wins handily over a tremendous opponent in Chad Gable, who falls short. Unlike El Grande Americano, who actually did manage to qualify. However, Seth is talking with Paul Heyman, and on the phone is that mysterious fourth man. And as they hang it up, Heyman says the fourth man is ready when they are. But what he wants is to take Seth right back to where he belongs, and that means targeting yet another person who was once under the tutelage of the wise man. Hey, listen. I know why you're here, wise man. And They aren't even interested in hearing Jay out, and it's disgusting. Jay was being respectful, but Heyman doesn't care. It feels like they're getting more and more aggressive in their approach. But very quickly, Jay has backup, and it's in the form of Sami Zayn. Of course, Jimmy is exclusive to SmackDown, so he isn't there. But Zayn is enough, and he forces Seth out of the ring, and he stands behind Jay. But was that all part of the plan? Something was going through Sami's head, but he sticks by Jay, and he wants to fight, and he gets that fight, and it's in the main event of Raw the week after. And it's against Seth Rollins, who is looking to eliminate another man who used to sit under the Heyman learning tree. But it's a great match, but most importantly, it's a fair one. Zayn hits a corner suplex that sets Rollins perfectly up, and he sprints off for the haluva kick, but Rollins reverses, snatches him up into the powerbomb position, and drives him into the corner with a buckle bomb. And it sets Zayn perfectly up for a stomp, and Rollins gets the win. However, even though it was fair and clean, Zayn is still bracing himself for an attack. But it doesn't happen. Rollins, Breakker, and Paul all stand across from him and spare him. It's almost like they're inviting him to their side. But before he can even say a word, Jay runs down to ringside and he tells Sami that he's there for him. And he tells him to get out of the ring. Sami leaves with Jay, but you could see he was mulling it over. But with Jay being super pissed off about the attack, he recruits Sami to team with him against Bron and Seth at Saturday night's main event that is going down close to Money in the Bank. And there could be a lot more on the line than anyone thinks, because there is some tension. And you can sense it between Sami clearly thinking about the offer for Heyman, but also wanting to be there for his friend. And when the match gets into the deep waters, he does have to make a choice, because Jay is struggling in the ring with Bron Breakker like many before him, and Sami knows that it's now or never. Sami takes the bullet. He's there for his friend. Jay then nails Breakker with a super kick, but it doesn't knock him down. It knocks him into the corner, and Rollins gets the tag. He gets in. Jay nails him with a super kick this time, and now he wants the spear. He runs off, but Rollins counters with a stomp out of midair. It's incredible, and Rollins wins the match. But most importantly, he pins the World Heavyweight Champion. And the timing couldn't be better, because after a meeting with Adam Pearce, but also a mystery person who is just off the CCTV camera shot, Paul Heyman locks in the match, and it will be Jay versus Seth at Money in the Bank for the World Heavyweight Championship. But before we can even get to that, Bron Breakker is trying to climb the ladder to take the briefcase down and anoint himself as Mr. Money in the Bank. And naturally, he is a total wrecking ball in this match. He wipes out anyone and everyone he can get his hands on. But just as he gets the chance to climb and he gets to the top and touches the case, he's cut off by Jimmy Uso. Jimmy is trying to win Money in the Bank. He's looking for his moment, just like his brother has had. And he also is out for revenge for his brother. But Breakker is ruthless, and he wants Jimmy off that ladder, and he throws everything he can at him. And with Jimmy teetering, he can barely hang on. There's only so much he can take. But then Bron is ripped off the ladder, and Jimmy, in total disbelief, is able to pull the case down. Reigns is back, and he tosses Breakker out of the ring, and both men go over the barricade and fight through the crowd and all the way backstage, where they're accosted by security and made to leave the building entirely, which therefore leaves Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman without Bron. But it also leaves Jay without Roman. However, Jay is flanked by Sami, who shows his loyalty once again, and it allows the match to run as smooth as possible. And it's a great competitive match. Jay shows the qualities that we've been used to, and that's pure guts. But Rollins shows the quality that we're used to from him, and that, of course, is the pure elite skill that drew him to Heyman in the first place. But it's the guts and grit from Jay that frustrates Rollins, so much so that Heyman eventually tries to get involved. But of course, this is cut off by Sami, who is now in Heyman's face, but Heyman stops him and he says, "Wait, you really gonna keep taking bullets for this family? That's all I ever did. That's all you've ever done. Are you really gonna keep putting yourself through this? I got out, and it's the best thing I've ever done, Sami. Let me take you. Let me take you to new heights. We can do this together." Sami actually looks like he's mulling it over, but while he is, Jay looks for a super kick on Rollins, but he hits the referee instead. Then he spins, throws another, but Rollins threw one as well, and they both collect each other at the same time and hit the canvas, and they crawl their way to opposite corners, but this opens the door for Sami Zayn. Jimmy Uso, the new Mr. Money in the Bank, and a man who absolutely wants to go to the next level, which, given the madness lately and the recruiting drive of Heyman, leaves the fans to speculate. Is he even there to help, or is he there to hinder his brother? Well, we don't find out, because back in the ring, Jay fights back, and he looks for another super kick, but Rollins moves, and Jay hits Sami. Jimmy sees Sami roll to the outside, and now he's checking on him. But in the meantime, Rollins takes his chance, hits a buckle bomb, and follows it up with a stomp. And unbelievably, just like Heyman promised, Rollins is placed right back into the spotlight. Jimmy decides that now isn't the time, because Rollins is up and ready for him. But the question is, did Rollins even need to be? Or was Jimmy going to cash in on his brother? It genuinely feels like it's only just beginning to ramp up, because there's so much unfinished business and still the mystery of that fourth man. And with Heyman, Breakker and Rollins basking in the success of winning the gold, they find out really quickly that they might need to increase the army quicker than they thought, because Roman is hunting Breakker, and he wants to put him down before he can even get to that next level. And he sure as hell doesn't want to be the reason he goes there. But he isn't the only one. It is on! The two men who this all started with are back to make it all right again, and they run through Rollins and Breakker. It's scorched earth. Roman wants to stop Breakker in his tracks, but Punk wants something that he's had his eyes on ever since he arrived. But will there be more than just Heyman, Breakker and Seth trying to stop them? We know the answer is yes, but we want to know, who will it be? The moment arrives for Roman to get revenge, but the moment is here for Bron in the biggest match of his career. And of course, he has the wisdom of Heyman alongside him. But as the match reaches its crescendo, it falls apart at the seams, because Roman is desperate to hold onto the spot at the top, but Bron is desperate to take it. However, Roman takes something from Bron that he's been relying on all match, and he takes Heyman out. Roman gets that sweet spear he's been waiting for since WrestleMania. He gets back in the ring, lines up Breakker, and he hits him with a Superman punch. And then he launches off to finish him off. But no, he gets collected by a spear out of nowhere. And Reigns might have taken the wisdom, but he didn't take the raw power. And Breakker charges up and drills him with another one. And he gets the biggest win of his entire career, and he announces himself on the big stage. It's a statement of intent and the launching pad that only Paul Heyman could provide. However, he won't be able to provide anything further because he is loaded into the back of an ambulance and taken away just before he was supposed to accompany Seth Rollins to the ring for his title defense against Punk. But Bron Breakker assures him that he will have his back, and he sends him on his way. The two brothers working together again, and it shows that Jimmy was always going to be there to help him, and that he wasn't out there to cash in. They take out Breakker, and Rollins has no idea, but he's now on his own. Or is he? Punk versus Rollins 3. The decider. These two have hated each other and wanted this match since the moment Rollins was ripped out of the cage by Roman in the garden. And it's no disqualification. It's anything goes, and they certainly take advantage of that, especially with no Heyman at ringside. But you know damn well he's still pulling the strings. And as the match reaches its blood and hatred-fueled conclusion, it shows. Both men are wielding chairs, pacing around each other, looking for that final blow. And they both swing, and they both connect, and they both go down. And they desperately crawl to opposite corners once again. Then it happens. Zayn makes his choice. He leaves Rollins laying and right for the picking for CM Punk. And Punk gingerly walks over to the down Rollins and he's ready to put him to sleep. Heyman was right. They aren't here to rewrite history. They want to rebuild it, brick by brick, body by body, man by man.